Hey everybody, this is Claire and this is Small Joyful Things. As always, I go out to estate sales or I go to thrift stores or I go to Craigslist or sometimes buy things from Craigslist, and I'm always looking for things that I think you guys would find interesting, and then I bring them home, try and find out as much as I can about them and then tell you guys about them. So here's what I got today. I have a teapot, and I'm kind of on a bit of an English pottery kind of kick right now. I'm looking at a lot of stuff basically about that. So yeah, I got this in a thrift store. I spent $6 on it, and basically I decided I was going to get this because I thought that it was an incredibly interesting piece of art pottery. We do actually have a stamp, I'll get to that in a minute, and it has just a really odd kind of glaze going on. The inside of it, I'm not sure if you can actually see on the camera, it does have some crazing. It's more obvious on the inside. You can definitely see it on the outside. You can see it a little bit there. There is quite a bit of crazing on it. It's not great. It's not great. Them is the breaks, unfortunately, when you're dealing with antique pottery. We've also got a little bit of a chip there, and a bit of damage there. Honestly, I probably shouldn't have bought it, because, you know, generally speaking, if I find something that's actually damaged, I'm usually of the case of, like, you know, I can't buy damaged stuff unless it's especially interesting. And overall, I don't think this actually kind of rose to the level of being interesting enough to just buy. It's nice. Maybe could have made a better decision with actually picking it up for $6, or at least I should have tried to buy it for less than that. But anyway, I'm going to measure this up. I realized in a recent video when I was looking at the Lancaster sugar and creamer set that I completely forgot to measure them. I'm really sorry. So it is 5.5 inches across. This is so easy to measure, like 3 3/4 inches wide, and it's going to be about, if I measure it with the top on, it is about 5 inches tall, including the top. So anyway, what have we actually got here? You can see that the glaze is kind of nice and interesting. Like, it's got a very interesting kind of like raised texture, and the glaze over is quite odd. Now the problem with this one is that it actually looks like it's dirty, and it's really not. It's just, that's the way the glaze kind of fell on it. You can see even that there, like, we think that's dirt, it's not. And if we go close up again, you can just about make out that crazing again. So I've done some research, and I do actually have the mark as well. So just for reference, turn this around. Made in England, and it says Avon Ware. Now, big question is that enough for us to actually go on? Oh boy. Not, unfortunately. We're missing some things. So Avon Ware England. Yes, we do have some entries, but the problem is that most of what we got is this set. And as far as I can determine, it's called the Hydrangea set. The only reference that I can actually find to anything to do with this company anyway is an entry here, Avon Art Pottery Limited in London. Again, we're back in Stoke-on-Trent in Staffordshire in the potteries, and it's listed as 1954. Potter's dated as 1954, this says date, and included in the appendix 4, blah, 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 blah. And basically, they don't even have any further information about their working period. I get the impression that these guys were not around for very long. They produced probably 1 or 2 lines, which is what we see here. And it could be entirely just like random speculation that there's actually going to, that this pattern, the one that we see most often, is called, you know, hydrangea. I'm not 100% sure about it, unfortunately. This is just kind of the hive mind consensus again, and who knows if it's accurate or not. I would generally trust that the potteries.org website, their info is pretty good. Like, just random Google images search, maybe not so much. So the other interesting thing about it is that it's listed here as being Majolica Antique Avonware Cream. Majolica is something that I would like. If I actually found real Majolica, that would be fantastic. This is refers to a type of glaze, basically rare tin glaze Majolica made primarily by Mintons in the late 19th century and everything. the big Victorian Majolica. Like, Majolica is like mass-produced Majolica decorated with coloured lead glazes. Basically, really brightly coloured, like cool art pottery pieces that look like this. There's a few that I've seen in videos. That's an incredibly cool one. That's like a mint and peacock. That is all just kind of brilliantly bright colors. Like, the examples, I just can't get over them. Like, you definitely see it. You'd know it if you saw it because it's so kind of bright and shiny. And I have to say that I don't think this is. I think this is another case of the consensus being wrong. I don't know that this is Majolica. It seems very, the one that I have in front of me at least, seems incredibly dull. So, who knows? So, I'm just going to put that away. So, I mean, the big problem with this, like, first of all, that we can find almost no reference at all to the actual, like, manufacturers. The second thing is that, although I'm quite sure that this is old, it does not have a whole lot of actual production quality going on. A lot of the times with the older stuff, you definitely notice when it's well made. And it tends to be better just because it's not mass produced. But in this case, I'm not convinced that they actually put any kind of effort into this because it's got so many issues. Like, the glaze here just looks off. It looks weird. You see where it's puddled there. It's not like properly even. Like, the colors just kind of, they're all pastel and everything, but they're not really kind of like that there. Just, it honestly looks like dirt. I'm pretty sure that could not have been their actual intention. Like, you can see here, they just kind of half-assed the line there. The glaze just kind of runs. It's a little bit better down there. Now, the other thing as well is that you can see there's a massive chip there that has been glazed over. There's another chip here, and it has been glazed over. And the thing is that this is not like a chip or a crack like that's been caused later on. It's not like damage from use. That's from the actual manufacturing era. Like, when it was made and glazed, that's what happened to it. They never fixed it. And there's another one here. You can see the crazing quite badly there. And again, the glaze doesn't look right. But there was like a chunk taken out of this that they didn't bother fixing. There's other bits there. They didn't really do anything with that. Like, the problem with this is that I know what really high quality antique porcelain looks like. I've handled it. I can pick up like the same, like say for example the Huchenreuther sugar bowl that I've got for the actual Casile one. The one that is basically just a blank. It doesn't even have a back stamp. It's just very clearly Huchenreuther. And I know, based on my research, that it was made like in, it was going to be early 20th century. I don't know exactly when. It would have been like before or around the same time that this would have been made. And I can tell from that sugar bowl that it was made by someone who actually knew exactly what they were doing, who made it to an incredibly high standard, made it out of porcelain. And that is not this. I mean, it's obviously not porcelain, but it looks like someone who did this was, didn't care. Because they didn't care enough to put the glazes on, like, correctly. They didn't care enough to fix these kind of chips or even just throw it out, for example. Like, this shouldn't have been produced, basically. If you had just giant chips like that, like, I'm pretty sure that if like, say for example, it came out of the kiln, it's got, something happened, it got knocked, the chip got taken out of it before it was glazed or decorated. Like, someone was half-assing it that day, because I can't imagine a respectable potter who's producing like good work would want to actually put something out there that has obvious damage on it. So maybe it's not surprising that, like, basically these guys weren't in operation for very long, because I honestly, I can find almost nothing about them. They really seem to have produced just, this particular set, and that's about it. Maybe this is why they didn't have good quality control. Make of that what you will. Now, of course, the question is like, what is something like this worth? Bearing in mind I spent $6 on it, and the answer is practically nothing. I cannot find listings on eBay for really much of anything. They don't seem to sell at all any part of this set. I took a chance on it for $6, and it turns out that I made a bad bet. Like, to be honest, I'm going to have to just be more careful in future. When I'm actually looking at stuff, I'm going to have to be careful to just really kind of look it over carefully, and to get a better feel for what is quality. Like, This one, I kind of just picked it up and I took a chance just based on the fact that it looked old and interesting. And you know, those bets don't always work out. So for what it's worth, take note of this. Avon Ware, made in England, probably not worth your time if you see it in a thrift store. Especially if you're buying the stuff for resale or whatever, you know, go see if you can find like the good stuff. Try, you know, find Royal Albert or Minton or whatever. So I always think that it's kind of good if you can learn something. I will probably just return this to the thrift store. I'm probably not going to bother selling it. I don't think it's going to sell just based on the sales records alone. It doesn't really seem to be popular. So it's probably not worth my time. But yeah, it's kind of nice. I'm sure someone in the thrift store is really going to like it. So this is my small joyful thing for the day. I hope you guys like it as well. Thanks very much for watching.